Hopefully we're good. Alright, let's double check here. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to these weekly Wednesday live streams that have kind of turned into our weekly tarot stream, where I'm going to be continuing working on the tarot card deck. And today is no exception. We're going to be continuing the Ace of Pentacles that we did the digital draft of last week, and we're going to hop into that. But before I start these streams, I usually like to give people a couple minutes to join in and get myself set up as well. I think I'm all good. I got my inspiration boards. I took a picture of my hand because I think today I'm going to be drawing, you can see the slight outline of the digital draft we did last week. So I printed out at 5% opacity, so it's really light. And I'm going to be doing the hand, or some of the hand, and a lot of the clouds. And maybe I'll do some of the coin. And then I'll save kind of the floral stuff for next week. Because I'm going to keep this to about 2 hours, and then I got to keep working on my convention stuff. We are leaving for Indie PopCon early tomorrow morning, and we got to pack a lot of things up. If you want to watch my Instagram stories, I've been kind of showing and documenting all the new stuff we're doing. We built part of the new convention setup, so I'm really excited to show that off. I'll definitely post some pics when we're in Indiana and after we all set up. So I'm very excited. It was very fun being back in the moment. So hi everyone. Hey fam, how you doing? How you doing? Oh, let me push this over here. Get rid of that. So today will be one that I might just jump into because I still have a lot of packing to do and I want to make sure I have enough time for that. So I'm going to kind of jump into this one. So officially, hi everyone, I'm Timothy Von Rueden, better known as Von Art Online, and I do these weekly Wednesday live streams now every Wednesday to hold me accountable to keep going on this tarot card deck. I'm 6 cards deep after finishing my last one, the Queen of Wands, and I am currently working on the final Ace card, which is the Ace of Pentacles. So this is one that will complete my set of aces because I have already done the Ace of Swords, Ace of Wands, and Ace of Cups. So now with the Ace of Pentacles being done, I will be completely done with the aces. And that'll be pretty exciting for me because I can then move on to the other cards and hopefully keep this train rolling. I'll probably switch between doing an easier card and then a more difficult one. So I'll probably switch between something more like this and then something like this, which is easier for me to do, and maybe do it more that way. That way it's not month after month of heavy hitting kind of big illustrations where I really want to spend time on the details everywhere. Because Queen of Wands, it was really fun to work on, but it definitely took me, throughout the month working on it here and there to finish her. And same with the High Priestess, wherever I put that card. So, like I said, we're going to jump into this. If you guys have any comments or questions while I'm working, I have the chat open. Let me move it to the side here so I can see it better. And if you want to ask me any questions during the stream, it doesn't even have to be related to what I'm working on. It could be related to the business of art, how to find inspiration as an artist, how to get motivation, and even things with conventions. I'm here to answer any question you may have to the best of my ability, and we'll be here for 2 hours. So let's have fun today, and just don't forget to put @VonArt. That way it's easier for me to see between going through the comment section and the drawing itself. So let's enjoy this. And even if I'm just background noise for you while you're working, hopefully I'll, fire you up a little bit to continue working on whatever project you are working on, because I think as artists, it's easier to feel the passion and the fuel from some other artists to help ignite your own. So hopefully that's what I'm here for. So please ask away. Nothing is too, let's not get into too insensitive topics. I think, let's keep it somewhat focused on being in the art world and maybe with entertainment even, or life stuff. But I like to avoid politics and anything like that because I feel like it always just has the chat, arguing, and I don't want any of that. The tools I'll be working with, I should have mentioned this right away, but I will be working primarily today with a 2H. I like Kimberly General pencils. I'll be using my Mono Zero eraser for some of the erasing, and then a kneaded eraser for the big areas of erasing. Hey Rennie from Bulgaria, hello, hello. Antonio from Massachusetts, hello, welcome back, welcome back. Theory, hello bestie, hello, hello. Fem, doing all right here, back on the job hunt. So excited for you guys to be able to get back in the con game. Oh, Fem, you have no idea. I am probably the most excited person in the world to get back to cons. I was up from like 8 a.m. till 2 a.m. just the entire day working on new con display stuff, getting prints all golded and ready. I feel like it was definitely a part of me that was missing because I found out through COVID that I don't necessarily need cons anymore to be financially stable, but it hit me at some point that cons are more than just financial stability. For me, cons are inspiring and motivating, and being around other artists really helps with my own sometimes art fatigue that can happen. And I find them really inspiring. I always feel fired up after a con. So now I'm not really going so much for the financial stability that I used to go for, and now I kind of go for the other perks that I feel cons give me. So it feels good to be back, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. Oh, I don't know why my camera, oh, you know what? Let me zoom out a little bit, or else it's going to keep auto-focusing every time. Nova Lee from Mexico, hello, hello, welcome, welcome. Some Bunny House, hello from Colombia. It's always cool to see where you guys are watching from. I myself am on a cloudy Wisconsin day in America. So, kind of explaining what I'm doing here, we did a digital draft from last week, and now I'm drawing over the lines to kind of help set the foundation of the drawing. I don't always do this where I work digitally first, but with illustrations and things that I want to draw that have a little bit more of a set positioning of everything, I tend to work on the iPad first just to give a good proportion and layout, and then I'll work traditional after that. But my favorite way to work is to skip the iPad altogether and just go straight into the pencil and paper. And I like when drawings can just kind of grow organically. I'm one of those artists who really believes in letting it kind of grow organically, in a sense that maybe I'll start with a face, and then who knows where the body will go, and like what their arm position will be, or what the piece even means. And I like when it kind of goes in different directions based on kind of the inertia of the piece. So that's why things like this can be a little stagnant for me sometimes, because I can't veer too much off the path, which is fine because I think this is a very set, kind of established look that I'm going for. And I want to keep that consistent, but when I'm doing my own art, yeah, I would much prefer just being more free form. Hey, Anna from Michigan. Hello, hello. Oop, let me move the chat back up there. Hi, Teflina. Hello, hello. Fem says, better come back to Belgium to show that new beautiful display off. But yeah, I definitely felt the excitement in the Insta videos. Really cool to meet some people in person again, I imagine. Yeah. I'm also doing a little YouTube video, so I'm kind of showing, I took like little mini clips of working yesterday, and then I'll do some at the actual convention center when we set it up. And I'll talk about like what it means to be a con artist, how to build. I actually was going to do a separate tutorial on how to build the stand that we made. It's kind of hard for me to explain it without like a picture of it, so maybe I'll wait till next week when we have some better pictures. And I'll kind of show you guys what we just spent the last kind of 18 hours building, sanding, and adding door hinges to. I'm pretty excited. I think it looks pretty nice. But yeah, I think even just meeting artists in person, or meeting artists, yeah, in person, it just gives me a different feeling than just seeing their stuff online. Because I feel like being able to interact with them and kind of get a behind the scenes feeling of what did this card mean to you? Or not card, what did this piece mean to you? What did this feel like? How did you create this? Like what? I love that. And I love interacting with artists that I've never met before that like really impress me. And I'm thinking, oh man, it's just a good reminder that there's always so many artists out there that I have no idea who they are, and they could be one of my like favorite artists, and I just haven't met them yet. So yeah. Hello, Misa, Cementi from Romania. Hello, hello. Let me get this. There we go. A con artist. Yeah, I know we've made that joke so many times with my group of friends. We were thinking of making a documentary series where we kind of follow our life in a year, and like, or not just our life, but primarily us going to shows, being at the shows, and then packing up, leaving for the show, getting ready for a show, going to another one, and just having that interaction between all of us, and like what cons mean to each of us, why we do them, what struggles we face, what we've learned from doing them. Because I think a lot of artists are very curious about in-person showings, and especially cons. I mean, I feel like they've really taken off the past few years, and that's something that, you know, who knows, maybe it will still happen eventually. I've always loved the idea of some kind of a show where we either like track it ourselves, or I like actually pitch it to possibly Netflix and go from there. The other thing I would love to be a part of, if anyone knows any connections, I would love to be a judge on an art composition. I just love shows that have any type of, you know, you start with 12 to 14 people, and then you work your way down through weekly eliminations to like 2 or 3 or 4, and then there's like a grand prize. There's never really been like a concept art or a illustration one that, at least not the one to the best of my knowledge that I've seen. But I would absolutely love to be like a judge, or even a guest judge. I know one of my old friends, we talked about producing it ourselves and like starting to save money for it. So who knows? Maybe that is still in the future. Novely says, what type of printer do you use, inkjet or laser? We use an inkjet. So we use a Canon Pixma Pro 100, and we do all the printing in-house. I used to do some more out-of-house printing, and it was fine, but it was a lot of pickup, and sometimes the prints wouldn't come out exactly how I wanted them. So I think someone like myself who is very particular about things, I think it helped having a printer actually in the studio that we can adjust prints on the fly, or if the contrast needs to be a little higher, or if something didn't, like if there was dust particle on the scan of the drawing that I need to remove, I can do that really quickly. And I guess I should also note, when I'm doing kind of the early stages of penciling things out, I usually do keep it very light, and I don't commit heavily to darker values. So in this stage, I'm just kind of placing the outlines a lot. And then I go in afterwards, and that's where I'll really start rendering the hell out of it. But I'm one of those artists, and I'm sure maybe some of you are the same, but I love rendering, so I could render for hours, especially if I have like a show or something in the background, or even music that I can just zone in and really just render away, because it's not digital where you could just quickly change the brush size to be bigger and then plop away. Like with pencil, traditional, unless if you're using like powdered graphite or something, to get a large area quickly and have it be smooth looking, not so rough, it just takes time. And I think that's one of my one of the advantages I think I have in my back pocket is I feel like I'm a very patient person with this type of work. So I don't mind spending like 8 hours rendering clouds. As long as I have a good time doing it, and I actually really enjoy the process of art making, so it's very therapeutic for me. I have no problem with that. Do a double swirl here. Let's see here. Antonio says, I dream of showing my work at a con one day. You definitely can. But I will say, it has gotten harder to get into shows. A lot of my friends are getting, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's definitely more rejection letters being passed out now than there used to be. But I think because the level of competition is just getting steeper every year, and I'm not saying that to intimidate you guys if you are curious about doing cons, but just to kind of prepare you with reality that it is harder now to get into shows. And even I get really, really nervous getting into shows that I've gotten into in the past because I don't think anything's, a shoo-in for getting in anymore. So every time I get into one of the big ones like New York or Emerald City or ASUN, it is like a big sigh of relief because it's, something I can't just put in my plan book, and you don't want to get cocky about it and be like, oh, well, I'll get in because I've gotten in before. Like, nope. I've definitely seen artists that have been there for years and then they're now getting rejected. So I guess what I'm trying to say is be prepared for rejection, but don't let it get you down because a lot of people are. And even to this day, I still get rejected from cons that I've gotten into before. And, you just got to take it, brush it off your shoulder and move on to the next. Try not to let it get you down. Just keep focusing on what you can change. I'm not trying to sound like a greeting card either, but it's the truth. Ashton, hello from South Africa. Hello. I hope you're having a great day. For the most part, I am. I found out I painted these boards with this magnet paint last night, and the black part of the magnet strips were getting all over my hands. And we can't be at a convention with like black fingers handing out prints. I mean, all the prints are in sleeves, but we just can't have black fingerprints everywhere. So unfortunately, a lot of the things that we built for the show, we're going to have to redo and just keep it wood and don't paint it with any magnetic paint. Because we were thinking we would put like a clear coat of something over it, but I honestly would just rather keep it wood and figure some other way to keep the prints in place. Cementi says, I'd love to participate in something where you judge. You've been my inspiration for so long. I really value criticism. Well, thank you. I probably should I used to do critique streams like every season. I'll probably do that again, just because I know the community really enjoyed it, and they were kind of fun for me to do too, and it kind of helps me get to know who's coming to these streams better. So maybe sometime in the next few weeks, or actually no, I'll probably wait till August because we have a lot of prepping to do this month, and I want to kind of stay focused at the task on hand at the moment. But yeah, I could definitely do that if you want to sign up for it. I'll probably put the sign-ups. We have a Discord for the YouTube community, so you can find that link below. And I actually made sure the links work this time, so you should be able to find it there. Because I think it's a good idea. And I really do try to critique people earnestly, but without it being like demoralizing. Because I think some people, they either don't know how to critique at all and they sugarcoat everything, and then it actually hurts the person you're giving the critique to because you're not giving any helpful advice, you're just kind of patting them on the back. I do try to give pretty good critique that's, bold and it's very firm, but I think I try to make it helpful. So I try not to hurt people's feelings in the process. Getting into the thumb here. Took a reference picture of my hand that I'm looking on at the other screen here. So with almost every tarot card that I'm drawing, I draw them a little bigger and then I shrink it down for the card. That way I can add in more of these kind of secondary details that you'll like barely be able to see on the card, but I think it does add a little bit of a difference. I think it just makes the cards look a little more grandiose, having all these minuscule details. Let me scroll down here. Antonio says, there's something deeply satisfying about working with traditional media. Right now I'm working with gouache, pencil, and gold leaf. Agreed. I think it's the tactile feel of all the tools. And I think it gives an impression at the end that is different than digital, because I think people can understand how a pencil, how a paintbrush works. But as soon as they look at digital art, I would say most people don't really understand how they got to that point. And then I think, sadly, Photoshop's become, or like digital art in general, is now kind of viewed as the easier medium by a lot of people. And I'm only saying this because I do a lot of shows, and you can tell in the reaction in their faces the difference between digital and traditional. And traditional has more of that wow factor nowadays. So it's funny how there was like this swing. It was like everyone was doing traditional before digital art became a thing at all. And then when digital art became a thing, everyone was so interested in it. It was like the hot new toy. And then at shows, they did pretty well too. But now it's kind of swinging back the other direction, where now, because everyone's doing digital, all of a sudden traditional looks more impressive and valuable. So it is funny how it is like that pendulum effect, you know? I mean, I'm going to take advantage of that while I have it right now, because people see, like I said, see traditional in a better light. And since literally my entire stock and booth right now is all traditional, it helps me, but who's to say that it won't swing back the other way in the next year or two? You never know. You just have to be adaptive, and more than anything, be true to yourself. Like, even if digital did become more popular again, I would still do pencil, because this is the medium I genuinely enjoy working in, and I wouldn't want to work in a medium just because it does better with sales, you know. I mean, I talk about that a lot on these streams about, I think people can read when art feels ingenuine, especially when the artists themselves feel money hungry. I do think people can sense that. Not everyone, but I think, you know, a general population of people can sense that. Anna says, have you ever felt uncomfortable using your real name online? No. Well, and most people don't even really know my real name. Everyone knows me as Vaughn, but my real name's Timothy, but Vaughn's my last name. And most people assume I'm a girl. That has been kind of the common trend I've seen whenever I post a picture of myself online, or like show my face. People are always very surprised. They're like, what? I think because in the past, I don't think it's very PC to say anymore, but people would always say growing up my stuff looked very feminine, very soft, and I guess that contributes itself and attributes itself to being more feminine of an artist. But now that whole conversation's kind of changing, and you know, guys can draw soft feminine things too. I don't think people are that surprised that I'm not a girl. I think it just wasn't the expectation. Well, and probably because I draw a lot of pretty boys, and usually, well, probably because I'm gay, but I think usually that's associated, if an artist draws pretty boys, that they're probably a girl. But I think that's changing though. But have I ever felt uncomfortable using my name? No. I think it would be different if I was a girl, only because, and I'm not trying to say this because it it's like I have a lot of girl friends that are in the art industry as well, and they receive way more flack or uncomfortable DMs than I probably will ever in my life. And I never have to deal with that. And when I do, it's like once in a blue moon, like weird hitting on things. But I think for girls, it is a little more uncomfortable because I think they just get way more of like the stalker vibe from people. I've had definitely friends where guys will ask them to send feet pics, for guys to like try to get their phone number through a DM, and they might meet them at a con and be really nice and friendly because they're behind a booth, and a guy will misinterpret that as flirting or that they're into them. And then it's like this really, really uncomfortable situation where then the girl has to kind of pull back and be like, oh no, I thought you were nice and everything, but, we're just friends. There's nothing more. Sadly, that happens actually all too often. So I think if I was a girl, I think I would be a little more uncomfortable sharing my full name, but I think I still would do it. Cementi says, I actually participated in those community critiques you did. Oh, that's awesome. You gave me so much useful advice that brought my art to the level I'm at right now. Still very helpful. Oh, well, thank you. I'm glad you were able to join it before and that you found it helpful. Because like I said, I think too many people now sugarcoat everything. And I think in the art world, we want to be critiqued. We want our stuff to be looked at constructively and given feedback that will actually elevate where we're already at. And I think too many, especially when I see critique stuff online, it's a lot of like, oh, this looks nice, but oh, your hand's just a little off. I think we need more critique of, I think your understanding of anatomy needs to be stronger in the wrist area, specifically with like these bones, and go more into real constructive criticism where then the person receiving it will be able to then use that for their next piece. I think saying like vague critiques are I don't think they're very helpful. And if anything, I think it can make it more confusing for the person receiving it of like, well, did I do a good job? Because you said good job, but you also don't seem to care that much if you're moving on after 30 seconds of looking at it. So when I do my critiques, I try to really, go in. Antonio says, I know the feeling. People will be amazed by my artwork up until I tell them it was done digitally. It's almost like I catfish them. Yeah, it's like a weird attitude right now with digital versus traditional art. Like I said, hopefully that will change for my digital art friends, but as of right now, that's kind of the perception of it, sadly. Drea says, hey, I'm late, but I'm here. Didn't realize what time it was. Well, hello, Drea. Welcome. It's a very casual one today. I'm not going too hard on rendering actually I'm getting pretty far and we're only a half hour in. But welcome back, Drea. Viva says, when is your commissions going to reopen? I probably, honestly, don't see them opening up anytime in the near future, and if I'm being really honest, I don't think I would ever want them to reopen. I have so many of my own individual plans that I want to do. I even recently turned down a little Netflix gig. It wasn't like a full-length movie, it was a short, but it wasn't fitting in with my timeline perfectly, and it kind of was not the style I would have wanted to participate in that much. And I'm realizing I finally have the ability to start saying no to even bigger projects because I have so much passion for my personal projects and I'm not giving them enough time. So I think if I opened up commissions again, I just feel like I wouldn't be giving that time again to my personal projects, which is what I really want to start doing. Especially once this, not only my tarot thing, but I have a few back burner pieces that I need to pull off the back burner, take onto the front burner, and just knock them out. But anyways, long-winded answer for what should have been a short one. Antonio says, have you ever developed a crush on one of them pretty boys you've drawn? It happened to me once or twice with my pretty boys. No, I don't have crushes on the guys I draw. I think I'm just like out of that age group. like, I don't, this is going to sound like an old person talking. I don't really necessarily find looks to be a defining factor for me in attractiveness of a person. Yeah, I think they can be cute, but oftentimes a lot of the people that I've met that are sociably good looking are not the most fun to talk with over time. I feel the ones that I really enjoy talking to might be a little weirder looking, or maybe not, like, a little quirkier looking, but they can make me laugh. They have like so many funny stories, and they're not vain at all. And I think over the years I kind of developed feeling more attracted to personalities. And my current boyfriend Josh, he just has such a solid personality. He's like a very kind soul, and thankfully he's also attractive, so I feel like I hit the lottery. So I'm not really looking for being attracted to people anymore. But I mean, I try to make my boys pretty, don't get me wrong. I do try to make them pretty, but I think it's more of like an aesthetic thing now rather than me being like attracted to them necessarily. Fem says, to be fair, I have had people tell me to stop flirting while I didn't even have that intention. I was just being kind or polite. Maybe it's just a standard thing that happens with women. Yeah, a lot of the friends that I talk to about this, they do say sometimes they'll just be friendly to another guy or to a guy, and a lot of the times they just misinterpret that as they think they're flirting with them. And I think that's so funny, because I think if it was the other way around, if a guy was being nice to a girl, I don't think a girl automatically assumes it's because the guy likes her. Maybe not. I don't know. Just from my perspective and growing up, that does seem to be the case with a lot of the guy friends I've had over the years, especially in high school. Anytime a girl would give them attention, it just automatically meant they're in love now and they have to get married, which obviously is not the case. All right, let's see here. I'm going to start adding some light values just to kind of block off more of where I'm going to eventually put in more of these darker values. And the reason I like working with a 2H, I'm sure a lot of you that come to my streams often know this, but I try to keep it light enough where if I needed to make a change, I could change it with the eraser because it's so light. And you can kind of see the difference. But then when I go in with my darker pencils eventually, it'll be really easy to see where to put down the dark values because I already have this foundation kind of laid out for me. So then it's just kind of like paint by numbers in a way. I think that's why I don't mind rendering, because a lot of rendering I can kind of autopilot in my brain, and I really don't have to think that hard of like, where is this value going? Where is this going? Let's see, I almost want something to break up this noise here. I feel like I can get away with a lot with these clouds because they're so swirly and puffy. And I don't even have to make them look super realistic. I mean, if you look at the clouds I've done on the previous ones, they're very similar. Almost like if you guys ever seen the Disney Hercules, they kind of have those clouds where they're very swirly and shapular. Oh, don't forget to put @vonart before your comment or question so I can see it. But I do see your shad, and it says, or shade? Shade. Shad. Get out of here, Tim. I think a lot of the digital art stigma comes from people not knowing what goes into digital art. Everyone has seen someone paint, but very few people have seen someone make digital art. 100%. I think that's it right there. Drea says, so I got one of your last commission pieces. Bruh, I need to frame it. Yeah, you did. You were one of the last ones, Drea. Fem says, talking about that Netflix gig, it reminded me of your Drawtober Bellboy idea with the hotel, and now I want to see that. I think it would be very visually stunning and a cool series. I don't want to... Well, okay. No, I can't talk about the Netflix show that I was going to be on. I think there's a NDA or something. But if it was more in like the spooky macabre realm, I think I would have taken on the show. But it wasn't. Because I would love to do like a haunted hotel with like creepy figures, kind of like in between like what a Pixar thing would be and scary stories to tell in the dark. if there was like an in-between in that realm, I would love to be a concept artist for like that project. But speaking of spooky stuff, me and my Drawtober crew have been getting together recently, and we decided the theme for this year's Drawtober, and I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to be building some things. I don't want to give away too much, but let's just say I am very excited. And I think whenever it comes to that spooky, macabre world, I think that's where I have the most fun with art, where sometimes stuff like this is very serious and very regal, which I do enjoy. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy it. But I also have a side to me that loves like Halloween-y things. I love pumpkins and witches and things that are a little silly but spooky. And I think that's where I can kind of let those type of pieces be my focus. So I'm really excited for Halloween again this year and to dive back into that realm. But yeah, I agree, Fem. I would love to see a show with like a haunted hotel. Shade says, do you ever have a hard time getting the B pencils to lay over H pencils? My professors in drawing class said never to put H on top of B, or never put B on top of H. You know, sometimes if I press down too hard with the H, it does create more of a smooth surface that the B pencils can't grab the texture of the paper anymore because it's so flattened. So sometimes, yeah, but I think I've learned how to be very careful with it. So like I do understand what your teacher is saying, and it does take a lot of practice in understanding how pencils work with each other so that you don't run into that problem. Does the original card have a... Yeah, I guess I'll top it off up here. I don't want to make them too swirly everywhere. I'm going to kind of change some of it. Alexis says, do you schedule your work every day or just work in waves whenever you can? I'm struggling to squeeze the time in for my hobbies. It is very difficult, to be honest, where I'll have like weeks where I'm really set on a schedule where I'm working an hour, like I'll work in hour chunks. So I have a timer that I'll set for an hour and I'll be like, okay, for the next hour I can only work on this project. And then when that goes off, I'll switch gears and then I'll only work on a different project that I have. And then other days, I might just work on one drawing for like 6 hours, and then I'll work downstairs printing, shipping, labeling, golding, doing that for 3, and like that's my day. It really varies. So to be honest, I'm trying to find that consistent balance. If there's anything I've learned from doing art now for, I mean, a long time, but professionally, independently, I've been doing it for about 5 years? Yeah. No, 4 years. Because I quit my full-time job teaching in 2017. So, yeah, 4 years. And having to schedule yourself can be very difficult because you have to hold yourself accountable to like stay on time with things, especially if you have freelance or commission gigs that, you know, there's a legit clock going for people waiting on you. Yeah, and then especially if you want to do personal projects, that can be very difficult. So I would say just be adaptive and learn that it's always going to be changing. I rarely talk to an artist where they've been consistent for like years doing the same process. So be okay evolving, and if something isn't working, like you can tell you're getting frustrated with your current schedule or setup, then I would change it. I would try to make it either adapt to your schedule better or just change it enough where you try something new, and maybe if like timing yourself for an hour works well, maybe that will work. Or maybe you're one of those people that you only can work on one project at a time. You don't like having like 4 going at the same time. And I really do think you learn that about yourself as you continue to do more work. So yeah, I would say mix it up. Crypt says, yes, don't forget to use the tag. What suggestions do you have for smaller artists to put themselves out there, if that's okay to ask? Yeah, of course that's okay to ask. To put yourself out there, it's okay. I think the modern era of art is so different than any previous eras of art because it's so worldwide and so public and so visible now that you have to play this game, the social media game, which was never played, like 20, 30 years ago, really. Actually, at all, because internet, we didn't even have Facebook and Instagram 30 years ago. So this is all relatively very new. And I think for a lot of artists now, it's become very difficult navigating that. I would say to put yourself out there. To me, my personal favorite way of like getting artists to kind of start their career is getting into conventions and meeting people in person. I think the grassroots marketing of actually having a person-to-person connection can do wonders for smaller artists. And I think when I was starting to do cons 7 years ago, I would just do as many as I could. And then my growth was slow, but it was steady. And every show that I went to, I would gain like a little bit of a spike, and then it would be steady, and then a spike, and then steady. And if you put yourself out there and you have a really good connections with people while you're at the shows, I think that's the way to create a natural community fan base that will last for years. Where sometimes finding someone on an Instagram search or on a TikTok hashtag video, I don't know how long that connection will stick, especially if you want to be independent and make prints and make a living off of it. So I would say to put yourself out there now, I would definitely say cons would be my number one. But if you're not ready to be a con artist, I'd really focus on creating the best quality work you can, because I think too many artists put themselves out there before they're ready to like sell work. I don't think their quality is where it needs to be to make it as an independent. And once again, that's not me trying to like discourage people from doing it. I think though we do need a little bit of a reality check for some people that get into it way too soon, and then they're super bummed out when they're not making a lot of money either at cons or with their prints online. But if the quality isn't there, it won't have longevity. So my advice would be to keep working on the actual look of your work and really push the quality, and then focus on like making it in the social media world. And I'm sure you guys have seen this before too. Like really good artists go undiscovered for a long time, but their work is so good that eventually they just like ramp up really fast. Once they're seen by the right eyes and enough people follow, that'll snowball really quickly. But if your art is only okay, even if you do get seen, people might not follow you. And you can even pay for followers now. You can pay for the marketing that Instagram provides. But I've seen it before where people will throw money at Instagram, like $100 a week, and they'll gain a lot of followers over the month or the span of a month. But then as soon as they stop paying that $100, it just trickles down. And it can almost be more discouraging seeing the number trickle so far down after it made its way up. So just something to think about. Antonio says, I'm nosediving into the esoteric symbolist feel that my art has always had, and the amount of hidden math and geometry is driving me insane. On the bright side, the insanity should help. Yeah, if you're including a lot of like golden ratio spirals and all of that kind of stuff, I think that will help your art. I would say just don't get too focused on the technical side of things. If it inhibits the organic feeling of the drawing. But if it adds to it, then awesome, keep doing it. Aradi? Let me know how that's supposed to be pronounced, but it says, will we have Drawtober this year? I noticed you have a lot of cons during that time. I've improved a lot from last year, and I'm very excited for it. Oh yeah, we're definitely doing Drawtober. Not only are we doing Drawtober, but I was literally working on the new logo and the teaser image on Sunday, even though it's July. We plan very early so that everything is very fluid by the time October comes around. So even though I have 2 cons in October, all the promotion, all the marketing stuff will be done long before then. It'll be done by the end of September even, for the entire month of October. So that why the time October comes around, it's literally just resharing other artists like yourself, or maybe working on like a few of my prompts, because I try to get a couple of my prompts done before the month, because hosting Drawtober is a lot of work just in itself. So I want to make sure that I'm still participating alongside the community. But I'm so excited for this year's Drawtober, you guys. I told my crew I wouldn't spoil anything, and I won't give even a hint as to what the theme is this year, but we are theming the entire prompt list again this year, and I'm beyond excited. Josh is getting a new piano, and we're buying specific noises that are specific to the theme, and we're going to do some animation stuff, and it'll be fun. It'll be a lot of fun. So yes, look for the teaser image on August 1st. So in like 4 weeks, we'll give a teaser, and I'll let you guys start guessing as to what you think it might be. And for those of you who are new to the stream, Drawtober is the October challenge that I co-created a few years ago. And rather than doing a drawing every day, it's a drawing basically every 5 days. So there's 6 prompts throughout the month. That way you can still enjoy your October, but then still participate in a community-run event. And I'm very passionate about it not being a money-making thing. I don't want it to turn into Inktober or a lot of these challenges where it focuses more on sponsorships and kind of self-gain. And I would rather it be focused more on having fun. And that's why I don't make Drawtober products that are like specific to the page. I won't sell merch with like a bunch of the Drawtober stuff on it. I want to keep it a community-based event, and one that I will give it my all every year. Anyways. Drea says, have you ever hurt yourself in a way that made you unable to draw? If so, how do you deal with it? I recently burnt my finger where my pencil sits and I feel ruined, lol. I have not, thankfully. I do think of that a lot, though. I don't participate in things that my arm could get injured in. So like when I go to the pool with my family, I have 30 plus cousins, and they love having like basketball fights in the pool. And I used to be a part of it, and I used to love it. But I got involved with one of those, you wrestle for the ball underwater, and one of our heads, I'll just say, hit the side of the pool, and I realized that could have easily been my arm, and if I would hurt my arm, I'd be like out of commission for months. So I now actively avoid activities that I know could hurt my arm. But I think if I did hurt my arm, I would probably put a lot more focus on teaching for the time being until my arm healed. And then I try to do daily stretches because I don't want carpal tunnel. I don't want to have long-term effects where it would inhibit me from drawing. Because that would honestly be the worst thing I think that could ever happen to me, is if I wasn't able to draw anymore. So yeah, I'm very careful about it. I do feel bad for you, because if I burnt my finger where I draw, it would be rough. I mean, thankfully, it's not like you broke your hand or like wrist or something where like you might have a super long recovery. So I wish you a speedy recovery, and that way you can get back to doing what you love. Okay, it's pronounced Artie. Thank you. Fidgety, hey Fidgety, says, have you seen Instagram's announcement that they will only be promoting videos instead of images? It's really scaring visual artists that Instagram may become useless to us as a social. Yeah, it is one of those things that's concerning for a visual artist. Thankfully, I've been trying to adapt more to some video content and kind of adapt that way. So like making reels and promoting those on TikTok as well. It is a little scary to think of it that way, but I think from now on, it's almost like a warning sign of like, okay, if you're going to be a visual artist, try to somehow include video formats into your feed as well. So whether that's doing like little reels where you record yourself doing snippets of a drawing or a painting, or maybe doing more tutorial stuff or just time lapse, I try to always look at changes like this as a challenge, and it's a challenge to be adaptive. And as long as it doesn't dictate what you draw, I see it more as a challenge. But I can see why that can be very scary, because I'm also a little nervous, because most of my sales, I would say, come from Instagram, when I do like Kickstarters and sales and stuff. But if that's the way that social media wants to play the game, I always see social media as a game, and if I'm participating in it, I have to look at like what the rules are to get ahead. So if you're going to do anything, I would say try to be adaptive and do more video content. I did hear that though. I thought that was a little disappointing that the photo sharing app is now trying to become like YouTube and TikTok light and possibly overtake them. Because I'm like, you know what, let them have their success over there. Like, you're doing fine, Instagram. Just keep doing what you're doing. Drea says, yeah, I'm not ready to do prints at a con yet. I just don't have enough art I deem printable yet. But I'll be seeing you at DragonCon. We'll be scooping out how others do stuff. Oh, that's great. I am so excited for DragonCon. Like, if these cons are our soft launch back into doing conventions, I would say DragonCon is like our big resurgence con, where that's where we want to come back with a vengeance. And I can't wait. I'm so excited for DragonCon. But I do want to make a dragon piece. So I guess I can wait a little bit, because I do have to actually make the dragon piece alongside doing all this Strawtober background promotion stuff that obviously I can't even share until September, really. Except for the teaser image. I can share the teaser image. Oh, hey, Kat. Kitty Hug is my best friend. She's currently in Australia. I can't say why, but I haven't seen her in a month and a half, so I'm excited for her to come back. Well, hello, Kitty. Welcome to my very casual drawing Pentacles stream. Antonio says, I've been noticing that a lot of people have been going out to Halloween this past decade, and I'm hoping the end of the pandemic will make people feel more festive. Yeah, I mean, I know Wisconsin's not the most, I don't want to say careful state, but we weren't the most careful state. And like last Halloween, I had a giant mask pumpkin head thing. And I was telling Josh before trick-or-treating even started, I was like, I don't even know if we'll have anyone come this year to our house. And then lo and behold, we had like 50 trick-or-treaters, and it was a lot of fun. I was dressed as this pumpkin head guy, and we set out a bunch of the inflatables, and like people were asking for me to take pictures with them. I had like my really long claw, my black claws, and it weirdly was like the best Halloween I've ever had. And I'm hoping now that COVID and a lot of things are kind of settling down stateside, that people will feel more comfortable to do things like Halloween again and not feel as scared. I will say Wisconsin did seem to already be kind of past that point, and I know it got a little flack for that, but yeah, I'm hoping this year's Halloween will be like a return to glory, because I know I'm super ready for this year's Halloween. But you know, I'm still enjoying summer. Like, even though as much as I love Halloween, I can hold back for a couple months still. Artie says, I've recently started making reels and as someone who's pretty shy, I feel so uncomfortable jumping on these trends. Yeah, I know that Instagram is one of those platforms where a lot of artists put a lot of their worth into it. So like, if you don't do well on Instagram, I see a lot of artists that don't feel like they're then not doing well in their career or whatever passion they're pursuing. And I've talked to so many people about, you know, you can't just dictate Instagram as your self-worth platform. And it's just another outlet for you to post your work, but it doesn't have to be your main one. Actually, it's kind of nice that Kat's here, because this is a good example of Kat does really well on YouTube, more so than her Instagram. But I think because of the way culture dictates that Instagram should be your main focus, it's so easy to get caught up into putting more energy into that naturally. When really, if you're really succeeding on YouTube or Patreon or another outlet, like that's really where your focus should be. And I think not getting caught up in like if Reels and Instagram's like direction is making you really uncomfortable, then maybe that's not the right outlet for you. It's definitely a good outlet, as it's like one of the most popular ones right now, but maybe it's just not the one for you. And I think finding what is the one for you will be a challenge, because I mean there aren't that many super big ones, but you do have a lot of up and coming ones that kind of came out of the blue, like TikTok, and you saw a lot of people that weren't finding success on Instagram finding success on TikTok. And you know, it's like they found a platform that just fit better with their brand and what they were doing. So don't let Instagram's new things, you know, scare you too much. If anything, it might push you into adapting to their new setup, or it might push you into another platform that fits and suits you better. Well, that's right. Yeah, Femin Cat, you're cute. Hey Ella, how are you doing? Ella's one of our wonderful mods for the Discord. Tim, I love the way you styled your hair today. Actually, admittedly, this is just when I woke up. I slept with my hair, it was this way. I slept, my hair was pushed like this against the pillow. So when I woke up, it just kind of flew up. And I was like, well, good enough for the stream. So I'm glad you like it, because it was kind of accidental. I'm so busy working on con stuff that I didn't really give myself a good look in the mirror. Thankfully, the art world, you don't really have to be good looking. So like I've kind of used that to my advantage, because I never thought myself as like a very good looking person, but it doesn't matter, because the way you get ahead in the art world is the work that you do, and like the amount of effort and quality and presentation and how kind you are. Like that's what will really get you ahead, more so than your looks. So I think it's something that I usually forget. Okay, I feel pretty good about these clouds. I might just wait until next week to really render those out. I might move on, because we still have an hour. I might actually move on to the coin. I really thought this outlining would take me longer. I don't know if it's because I'm in such a good like mood from doing the cons that I'm just moving faster. Wait a minute, Kat. I thought it was like 1 a.m. in Australia. What are you doing up? Go to bed. That thumb was way too far out. Actually, that thumb looking thick. I gotta scale that thumb down. Yeah, it was looking a little chunky. So the way that I'm going to render the pentacle, I kind of mentioned this last week, is it's definitely going to be metal. I want it to feel almost borderline like a rock. Like imagine a giant pentacle made out of a rock, because pentacles are supposed to represent earth and like earthly matters, but it could also represent like physical things. So like even your health is technically physical. But I've been doing a lot of research on pentacles lately, because I had to do this card. And the way that people said to remember it is pentacles you can think of as health or wealth. So people will either see it as one or the other, depending on who you're reading it to and who the reader is. But both are in the same realm of the physical realm. So your health is physical and wealth is like physical. So little tarot tip for you guys today. Kat, it's 4 a.m. there now? Oh my gosh, Kat, what are you doing up? I can't sleep. Okay, I will try again. That thumb. She thick. Yeah, I like big thumbs and I cannot lie. Actually, I do not. Please don't gift that. But it was looking way too thick. Oh, you guys are funny. Cat couldn't sleep, so she decided at 4 a.m. to come on to YouTube to watch someone draw a hand holding a pentacle with a huge ass thumb. That usually puts you in a good sleep mood. Oh yeah, I was saying, I think the way I'm going to render the pentacle will have more of that scratchy look, because I don't want it to look super clean and shiny. I know I showed you guys last time the inspiration board, but a lot of the coins, for anyone that played like Mario games, it looked like a Mario star, and it kind of looked like a coin that you would see in a video game. And that's definitely not the impression I want to give with the Pentacles in my deck. I definitely want there to be a feeling of like rustic and have a little bit of depth as well. So I'm going to create like these little ledges on all the sides of the star. Actually, let me zoom in. You guys kind of see that a little bit, maybe? A little bit. See how adding those kind of scratch marks are creating more of the surface of a coin? It's definitely going to be something I'll probably do with the smaller pencil once I get to that stage of the drawing. It becomes easier during like the darker shadows. See how that creates the illusion that that ridge is like raised slightly? Well, that's right, if I zoom in too much, it tries to autofocus every second. There we go. So I might even draw like little dinks and dents on the actual metal part. I really want these to have an like ancient feel, like this coin is of ancient value, the coin of the gods. Draw some heavy cracks in them. Actually, I kind of like the contrast of that very white paper texture against this hand. So I think I'm going to leave that. Man, we still have an hour left. I feel like we're making progress today. Some streams I move like super slow, like the one on Queen of Wands where I was working on that cat. It's like I was working on that cat for like an hour. That was definitely one of those streams where I'm like, I'm just wasting people's time watching me try to draw this cat for 2 hours. Thankfully, it was good conversation, but man, oh man. Let's see here. No, Fem, definitely don't gift that. Antonio says, have you ever done a project where the final looks different from the rough sketches? Oh, always. I feel like I said earlier, a lot of the drawings that I do, I like drawing organically. So I will let a drawing change directions like halfway through even if I am feeling, like intuitively feeling that the new direction will be better than the one I'm currently on. And that happens a lot. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do a shadow on all the shadow parts first. Oh yeah, that way you can tell the pentacle. There are times where the thumbnail, like if I stick too close to the thumbnail, I actually feel like I made it worse because I try to follow it too much. And I feel like I could have taken it into a different direction, but I was so scared to change the direction that I kept the initial one. And I actually thought it was worse because of that. I don't do it so much anymore because I'm definitely an artist that really tries to trust intuition now. So if I'm getting that sense that I should go in a different direction, I will change course like immediately. There is very little holding me to whatever current direction I'm going in if I'm not feeling it. I will change so fast. Oh, well, thank you, AKTVO, for subscribing. Man, I love Donald Duck. Every time I see that gif, he's like my favorite mage healer of all time. Don't get me wrong, Goofy's good too, but playing Kingdom Hearts, Donald was definitely my boy. You know what? I might even add a secondary rim inside of this. Maybe, we'll see actually. Some darker value here. Because I know that there will be a light source on this angle of the star, this is like an easy way to add some contrast here and add more interest to the pentagram by making this darker. And for those of you who are curious about like the pentagram, I don't see it at all like connecting with the devil. I know that it gets kind of a bad rep, but upright, it means something completely different than when it's turned upside down. Because when it's upright, it has a different meaning. Almost, you can think of it as pointing toward the heavens. So a lot of people associate this as more of a godly symbol. And there's more history, even long before tarot, of different cultures using a star symbol like this. It's only when it's upside down is it really associated with like devil worshipping or Satan, because as you can tell, the points are now pointing downward. So that's kind of the difference between when a pentagram is seen as something scary or like feared of versus when it's more seen as like a holier symbol, or it has like a totally different meaning. But it depends on what culture you're looking at for the meaning, because like I said, there's a lot of different meanings behind this star and the shape of it, the pentagram, depending on where you're looking. Oh, let's see here. Now you're thinking of old Mario music. I used to be able to play that first song on the piano. I don't think I could now. It's been too long. Antonio says, have you ever done a project... Or, sorry, I got that one already. Tria says, oh no, watching a cute kitty face for an hour, what a horrible experience. Yeah, I think I was just so focused on the cat reading right, like the face not looking wonky. Because, I mean, how many times have you seen a cat drawn where it kind of has a wonky face? And I didn't want to be one of those artists that created an illustration with a wonky cat. So I spent way too much time just, correcting the face over and over and over and over again. Yeah, I really didn't think I would even get to the star today. So you can kind of get a feel, see how it feels, not like, maybe it's hard to see on the stream, but I'm definitely like adding little cracks and things everywhere I go, just to not make it feel super perfect. There we go. Fem says, I feel the pentagram is fine and unscary as long as it's not written in blood or something. I mean, also true. Presentation can make anything look scary. You could have a Care Bear, but if it's holding a chainsaw and covered in blood, yeah, not as cute anymore. Janisha says, how long have you been doing tarot reading? I have been doing it for about a year. I've probably done about 20 to 30 readings of other people, and I try to do mine about once a month. And now that I've got my boyfriend Josh into it, we try to do each other's readings instead of doing it on ourselves. And usually that's like once a month as well. I just love tarot. I think it creates a space for conversation that may not come up in normal day conversation. And one of the last ones we had, I mean, she was so open and vulnerable with us. She got like the whole room that was listening crying. There were like 5 of us in there, and it was a 2.5 hour reading. But it was just so good, and she was just so willing to talk about anything that it was just beautiful. And I felt like we skipped 3 years of small talk to get to know each other better. And that's another fun thing about tarot, is you can really get to the core of what someone wants to talk about, or maybe something that's been on their mind. And it's just a very easy outlet for people to do that. Antonio says, what you're talking about, the pentagram reminds me of the opening scene to the Da Vinci Code. That was one of the few books I actually read in high school all the way through that wasn't like a required reading. I remember really enjoying it, but what's funny is looking back, I can barely remember the plot. Like, I remember specific visual imagery that I think I had reading it, but if you were to ask me like what the main plot was, I think it would be hard for me to remember and like explain it. And draw the thumb wrinkles. I have very weird thumb wrinkles. I don't know if anyone else has this. If you see how they're like stagnant on the side, or not stagnant, they're like zigzag almost. It's like they're not touching. On my left thumb, it's like 2 big ones, but they're like straight across, where my right one is not. So very not symmetrical. I don't know how many people have that, but it's definitely one of those like weird things I noticed about myself over the years. Let's see, where's the wrinkle in here? Oh, that wrinkle's right here. Oops. Drea says, and yeah, it's used for witchcraft, but who says all witches are bad? Some use it to bless the herbs to cure your illness. # no appreciation. Yeah, my one friend, actually Kat, the one that was here, she considers herself more of a green witch. So she would do, if she was like doing spells and stuff, it would definitely be more of like the herbal cleansing rather than casting curses or hexes on people. I have known people though that actually do try to do the hex craft on others. I personally have never done anything like that. But I do believe in the placebo effect really heavily. And I think intention is really big. So if you put a lot of intention into, I think that's why crystal people exist, because if you believe that this citrine rock will help you grow your prosperity and focus on wealth, it will, I think naturally the placebo effect takes it and subconsciously helps you manifest it into your reality. So that's why I think stuff like this is really cool, because it is like an unseen magic with a K that you can almost trick your brain into believing. It's like that book, The Secret. A lot of these self-help books and a lot of these successful business books that I have been tapping into more, a lot of them do talk a lot into the whole idea of you got to fake it till you make it, essentially, and you got to really truly believe that you can make it, because if there's doubt hidden in your brain, it will prevent you from moving forward. It's something just to think about, especially going into the art world. You really want a positive outlook on yourself and your work if you really want to make it in the art world. Ella says, what has your tarot reading told you for this month? So I did my last one before doing my Kickstarter, and actually the card that I was, the first flip is who you are presently, was the Queen of Wands. And I connected with this card so hard on like every level that I knew that that was the one I had to draw next. And a lot of my reading last time was the whatever career I had, it would be successful in it, stepping up as a leader, and there were just a lot of good traits. And the ones that were negative were talking about like bad habits of putting things off or allowing things to slip because of your prior achievements. And everything was pretty spot on. And obviously every card is relatable on some level, so of course I'm going to say every card was spot on. But sometimes it's really spooky, and literally before I did this reading, we adopted a black cat that was a stray. And the fact that this is who I was presently, like everything about this, with the sun, the lions, I've had a connection with everything. Wands are typically a creative card, so the fact that she was like the queen of it, I've always felt very much like a leader in this community. Not so much of like my way is the best way, but more or less like I will always put effort into the quality of what I do. I don't feel like I want to sell out. Financial gain's not my real goal. I really want to make it as like an artist, if you know what I mean. So if you look up the meaning of this card, it is spot on, and all the symbolism within it, I really connected with. So I'll probably do then my next reading next week. I'll have Josh do one on me now that that card is finished, because I try to do one after every card that I finish, and that way it gives me kind of a month in between, and it keeps me motivated then to keep working on these cards. You know, for talking so casually on the stream, I actually really like how this is turning out. Sometimes like the simpler art pieces are the ones that you tend to enjoy the most. I think because there's less pressure almost. Or maybe I'm just so calm because I have the excitement building up in me for the con this weekend, and the drive up there I was going to do all my Drawtober concepting. I have 2 of mine already concepted out, but I really look forward to just long periods where I can just concept ideas and conceptualize what I want to do. So maybe that's what I'm just cruising through this drawing because I'm like, okay, this is more autopilot with a lot of this. Where doing the conception stuff, that's what I'm really looking forward to. Oh, hey, Lauren, how are you doing? You're doing well as always. Beautiful drawing. Well, thank you. My thumbs are more like your left thumb, no zigzags. Yeah, I think most people have this. That's why I think it was weird that my thumbs are different. Drea says, I skipped one. Antonio says, I think the wrinkles are influenced by which hand is dominant or used more. Oh, that would be interesting. I always thought it was however you bend your finger in the womb for the first time, the skin then will create those wrinkles. But I'm talking out of my butt right now. I have no idea how they're formed. a very unproven scientific, non-scientific guess from my department just now. I mean, I guess, what do I have, 40 more minutes? I'm going to do a really nice clean pass then on this, and then we'll cut the stream off, but yeah, this is kind of already ready for... I'll usually like pull out a darker pencil, but I don't want to pull out a darker pencil until I do down here, but that I want to save for next week. Because I might take references of lilies and come more prepared rather than shooting off the hip with like a floral garden. Because stuff like this, I do like having reference if it's of a subject matter I haven't really drawn before. And normally with flowers, I typically go for, my favorite are, oh my gosh, why can't I think? Oh, peonies. Sometimes I forget the name of them, which is crazy because they're my favorite. But I love peony flowers. I love roses, sunflowers. So I know how to draw those pretty well. But anytime you get outside of that realm, yeah, I think it's better to have a reference of them. So I can start now pushing the values even more than what I did before. Do you kind of see how I can slowly build up more of that contrast then too? And H pencils are very butter, as I like to call them. So you can build up a gradation very smoothly, and it creates this nice kind of tonal shift from dark to light. Drea says, I knew a witch doctor once. Boy, she was creepy, but even her job was to mainly protect the spirit world barrier. I've never met a person who was like a real witch, but like someone that was like really into it to the point where, that was like their occupation primarily. I think it'd be very fascinating. I would love to talk to someone like that. I think they would just have a lot of interesting stories to tell. And they probably know a lot about like folklore and mythology, and that kind of stuff really interests and excites me because I think you can draw a lot of ideas from stories of old for sure. So now because the hand is so light in value, you can kind of tell even in my other drawings, I try to have the clouds that are touching the hand be darker. That way it adds that level of contrast to really separate the two forms from one another. So I'm kind of lightly building that up, but once I get into my B pencils, even like an HB will work. You'll really start to see these kind of separate from one another. So you can see a lot of this stage is kind of rendering through, pushing values darker, lighter, especially with forms that are so simplistic like this. It becomes really easy to just go throughout now that the foundation lines are all built up. There we go. Because now you can start to see some of the cleaner outline happening. Because as I go through and as I feel more confident about the placement of lines, I can push the line to be a little darker on the outside edge. Yeah, there we go. And this is before I even lay down an HB or a darker pencil. So a lot of people are very surprised when they find out that a lot of my drawings are done very light, and then I'll work my darks in once I'm at like the 70 to 80% point. Because I think sometimes with pencil artists, I think sometimes they rush into going dark too quickly, and then it becomes very hard to erase or edit if they need to. But as you can kind of see, I've rarely used my eraser. So I think a lot of pencil artists also become more confident the more you work with pencil. So at some point you aren't erasing as much anyways, so that's why they tend to go darker to begin with. And then you look at like people like my hero Alan Williams, and I think he's the best living pencil artist today. And he works very dark from the get-go, and he holds it sideways and very far away, and he's very confident in his shading ability. So because I like more of a buttery look to my shading, I tend to be more close up and build it with like layers. Who knows, maybe one day I'll be at that point where I'm just like going dark right away, but I do like the build-up of value. Like I said, this is very therapeutic for me, kind of building it up slowly and watching it kind of come to life. So I don't mind if it takes me a little longer. It's only on drawings where I have like 50 hands or something to draw, like if it's a really big concept piece that I just need to like render things over and over and over. And if it's a very meticulous shape like a hand, even though I love drawing hands, yeah, those are the times I wish I was just a little faster with my build-up of value. Add in a little soft swirl there. There we go. So now, even within some of the shapes here, I'll push the line art a little darker if I feel pretty confident about the shape and the value that I want to include. Yeah, something like that. Oh, good luck, Lauren. Taking my certification exam to become a personal trainer this Saturday. Well, best of luck. I hope you pass. Tria says, I'm a hop, skip. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. I'm a hop, skip, and jump away from New Orleans. That's where I met her. Her house had so many bones in them. I love it. Yeah, that would be awesome. I can only imagine meeting a witch doctor and like just asking stories. I mean, hell, even like when we went to go get rocks on Sunday, we got more rocks for the booth. I love citrines, and I wanted to have more on my booth display. So when we went there, I was just asking the rock guy questions about things, and he has a lot of fun stories. And I mean, they don't even have to have a weird occupation. I feel like everyone is like their own almanac, glossary, whatever. They're their own catalog, we'll say, of stories from their past. And I think sometimes it just takes asking people to like bring it out, because I think everyone can be fascinating even if they have a more mundane sounding job. Because like my sister runs a baby store, but she has so many funny stories. And I think it's easier with people that like run a witch store or like work at a circus. Like you're gonna get definitely very strange stories, I would assume, but I feel like everyone could have a very fun story to tell too, if you just ask the right questions. Yeah. I mean, yeah, these clouds are definitely ready for the next stage. So I'm going to wait until next week to start that. Maybe I'll render out some more of this hand. Because as you see, I try to keep the hands not super rendered out. Like definitely enough shading where you can tell what's going on. But usually it's more minimal looking. And I like the graphic contrast nature, having a more blank hand against darker values around it. To get some of these like very minor details, I'll turn the pencil to be more on the point side. See how it creates more of a sharper edge there. Let's see here. I feel like this line should be a little darker. Sorry if I'm not talking as much. Sometimes when I get super focused on a stream, I forget to talk for a second. I forget that people are watching. Just get some nice pencil ASMR. And then this card also does have these rays coming off the hand, and I do that on basically every ace card that I have. You see the sunburst. So I'll do that, but I'll probably do that last because that can rub and fade really quickly. So I usually save stuff that are that detail oriented till the very end. Okay. I'm going to wrap around the pentacle here, do some areas, and then I think I'm going to call this stream good for today. Moved way quicker than I was expecting on this. So honestly, if you guys have any questions about the art world or how to stay motivated or the business of art questions, I am here to help answer. Like I said, to the best of my ability. I don't know if I want to do an inner layer actually. Drea says, will the hand have cracks in it too? Probably not. No, I like to keep the hand. I mean, that is an interesting idea. But no, I think I'm going to keep the hand pretty much symbolic in all the aces that I have, where it's supposed to represent more of like a divine power, where the hand is kind of like coming out of the clouds as if it's like coming out of heaven. But I do like the idea of like it's so earth that even the hand is like all cracked. Who knows? Maybe I will. Like, that's not a bad idea. So maybe. I'll keep that as a maybe. I'll think about it. Antonio says, we're always watching. Wee-hoo. Wee-hoo. Yeah, there we go. And I think rendering materials is one of my favorite things to do, especially when I was a digital artist primarily. I love rendering materials out, like putting cracks and texture everywhere. So something like the coin, to me, is very fun. Actually, all four of them. Because the cup is very like gold metallic. The wand, obviously very wood textured. The sword would probably be the least textured to me, but I still added some like fun creases and metallics into it. But I think the coin, I guess the coin and the wand specifically, have like the most texture fun to it, where I can really like get into the crevices and cracks and add in more detail here. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I'm like almost off screen. Move it back toward the center. I mean, this is kind of the fun part about doing a tarot series, where I don't really have to follow exactly how the original card looks, but like it's recognizable enough, but you can kind of go your own direction and stray a little bit. So even though mine's not like this bright, shiny, sunny star, you know, it's recognizable enough that you get the gist of it. So it's kind of fun to play with interpretation of art. I think that's why people like fan art a lot, or when people do series, so specifically like Seven Deadly Sins or Astronomical Zodiac. I think things that are very recognizable, people love to see how different artists interpret it. I mean, even with myself, I love seeing that kind of stuff too, especially when someone does like a Zodiac series. Like, I'm very curious, like, what does their Libra look like, you know? Like, I just love seeing people interpret kind of like a pre-established idea to make it their own. might keep the top of this coin relatively lighter. Maybe have a little bit of a shaded spot here. Because with anything, even if it's slightly metallic, even if it is more rusted and dirty looking, kind of like what I'm trying to do this coin, it'll still have a little bit of that contrast within value so that it gives off that quality of it being reflective. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm not even looking at the questions here. Gabby says, do you add fixative on your finished drawings? I do. So I normally add a matte fixative, and that you can find almost anywhere, or any hobby store. Yeah, you won't find that at like a baby store. But any hobby store should have that, or even art store. Always watching. Drea, this is a super business serious question for you. As a vegan, how do you enjoy ice cream? Almond milk ice cream? What flavor? I must know. I love, when I do eat ice cream, Ben & Jerry's has really good flavors. They're not the best for you. I mean, most ice cream isn't. But Ben & Jerry has really good vegan flavors. And I don't know if they sell them overseas. They might. I know I really like gelato. And usually gelato places will always have like a dairy-free section. So usually if we get ice cream, that's where we get our ice cream from. Very serious business question. Natalie says, how did you get into conventions and what was that like at first? It was very funny. The first con I went to, I think I was 18 years old, and my friend Angela took me to one. And at that time, this is like 2008, at that time my perception of conventions were like that's where the nerdy kids go, like the really geeky weird ones go. So I think it took me a second to like really get into it. But then when I was at the show, it like hit me like a truck. I was like, oh my God, these are my people. A lot of the artists behind booths, I was so mesmerized by the idea of like running a business shop that was financially dependable just by going to shows. And I think what really helped me, and not to sound like I was this arrogant, prick at the time, but I remember looking at a lot of the booths being like, if they can do this, I can do this. Because a lot of them, you could tell like they didn't really care about the quality as much. They were just trying to make money, and they did like print walls, but they were all like taped together. And then I remember the question that really defined some of the artists that do fan art for me was that we went up to this artist and they didn't even watch the show or know who the character was. They just knew it was popular and that it would make them money. And I remember just being like, ugh, like that's the opposite reason why people should do art. But I would say literally that show, just even going to it, from that point forward, I was super into cons. I wanted to be a con artist and I wanted to get into them. So I would say it took me about 4 years to actually go into my first con. So it was after I graduated college. And my friend Gabe Bautista, he let me share a booth with him at C2E2. And C2E2 is a Chicago Comic-Con here that's pretty big. And I remember even though I had like 3 feet to work with, I tried to make the most of that 3 feet, and I loved it. I loved it so much. And at that show I made like $800, even though I spent like $500 just to get in and like get all my supplies and whatnot. But I just thought I struck gold. I was like, I'm rich. I just made $800 selling prints. And even though obviously I wasn't rich at that point, but I was rich with ideas, I would say. If I was like hindsight trying to justify why I thought that way, I remember thinking like, if this is the starting point, it can only go up from here. And yeah, my first 2 years of doing cons, my booth was pretty, how do you say, god awful. But after that point, as I started to kind of adapt and pick up what I liked about my booth and then changed it and then edit it and like kept doing that over and over and over again, you know, it slowly became this gaudy white and gold experience that now I'm like really tapping into. Now my booth is like super over the top, but I want to take it even further. So I guess to answer your questions, what was it like at first? It was incredibly exciting, but clearly I was playing in a league bigger than I was able to perform at that time. But I'm so glad I did, and I think every artist should kind of throw themselves into the fire. And I think it does make you stronger because you adapt quick. And when you're behind a booth, you don't want to be like embarrassed by it. So I think you will go home after that con, and then you'll put way more effort into creating a booth that you can feel more proud of. And if you do that over and over again, eventually you'll come up with a booth that you can't wait to booth behind, and like you're excited to meet people behind and show your work too. So anyways, I just love conventions. I'm so glad we're going to one this weekend. Oh, hey, Martin, how you doing? Actually, speaking of con people, yeah, Martin's one of those people I would see at a lot of the cons in this area. So I'm excited to be back at them. Fem says, I don't know if it's just me, but every time I take very long to write mails for job applications, it took me the whole stream up to now just to finish one. LOL, paranoid for mistakes. No, I think it means that you're just, you know, taking your time, you're reviewing everything. You don't want to have like a spelling flub within it. So no, that doesn't sound weird to me at all. I mean, good luck with the application though. How much time we got? Okay, 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to start kind of winding down here. So if you have any last minute questions, I would definitely ask them now. And then I will go ahead and close out the stream and get back to working on my con booth and packing up for tomorrow. And if any of you are in the indie pop area, I will be there so you can meet me and see my new little booth setup. I love meeting people in person that come to the streams. Okay. For some of these tighter spots, I have to kind of zoom my whole head in just so I get the right point. Probably won't do too much shading on the actual pentacle part, like just enough where you can see some of the shading for sure. But I think overall, I really want that star to stand out against this kind of rocky background. Might even do some pointillism on the coin in areas. Because you know sometimes old coins will have that kind of texture to it where there just looks like a lot of little dots just from wear and tear and dropping and things hitting it. I definitely want to add a lot of texture to each of these cards. I must say, we did get way further than I thought we were going to today. I know I keep bringing that up. Every time I look, I'm like, wow, this is like, I maybe need to do like 2 hours of rendering up here, but then this part's basically done. Because once I have a good foundation underneath the rendering part, I can go super quick. I think this is the stage that usually takes me the longest, and I think this is the stage that people like to skip the most. So if you're an artist watching this, just remember your foundation is very important, and you want to have a strong one before you build anything on top of it. That's why I like the metaphor a lot of it being the foundation. Because if you have a bad foundation, whatever you build on top of it's going to be, you know, more uncertain, more uneven. Okay, the part under, I want to make a little darker. I'm like trying to, because I want there to be a little bit of that crisscrossing between the actual lines. So I want there to be some of that overlap. Yeah, I'll definitely have to bring in my smaller pencil here to get some of this harsher cornering areas. And this kind of sets the tone for the rest of the Pentacle cards, because I want all of them to have a similar look to them. So I need to make sure I like the first one, because if I don't like the first Pentacle card, that's definitely going to send a bad wave throughout the rest of them, because I have to redraw them like, I don't know, like 50 times. Because even like the 10 of Pentacles, well, there's 10 Pentacles in that. So the 9 of Pentacles. So I got a lot of Pentacles ahead of me. That's why I think I wanted to do the Ace cards first, because then each of them give me kind of a visual representation of how I want all of the suit to look. So like for wands, I think a lot of them will have that, you know, black to white gradient with the little leaf sticking out. So this one's reversed, black to white, but same feel. So I want to make sure with each of these Ace cards, they kind of dictate how the rest of that suit will look. And don't forget to put @Vonert so I can see up and down. Oh no, you guys are having a conversation amongst yourself. Oh, Martin, I hope you feel better. Miss you guys so much. Please say hi to Josh and Dee for me. I will. I know they've been crazy. Dee's been super busy. She's been working her job and trying to get her art stuff together. It is tough having a full-time job and trying to make it in the art world. So if any of you are doing that, it is definitely, it's difficult, you know? And that's okay to admit it. Just hopefully I can give you some encouragement to stay at it and keep going. Keep fighting the good fight. I know when I had a full-time job and trying to do this on the side, thankfully I liked my job. I was a teacher and I taught how to paint in Photoshop essentially. At night, there were some nights, I didn't really want to do my drawing stuff, but for the most part, I was so encouraged and I was so motivated to make it as a con artist and make it outside of just my day-to-day job. And I think it's very easy for that motivation to fade over time. So hopefully even with like these little Wednesday streams, I can, you know, pass a little bit more of that fire to go back at it if, you know, you feel like yours is fading a bit. I think I'm going to cut the stream off shortly. I feel very good about where it is though, because I'll be going all weekend at the con, but then I'll probably do some touch-ups early next week before the stream next Wednesday. And then I'll definitely look up some reference for, I'm going to do the garden, as you can see in the original. I talked about it a lot last week, but each of these means something, even the two mountain peaks in the background. So I want to make sure I get some references of the lilies and look at different hedges in gardens and see if there's any that speak to me specifically. Maybe I'll even ask the Discord chat if you guys have any good pictures of lilies to post them, and I'll use them as the reference for the card. So I think it's always cool when I can get the community participation within my drawings. Some of the things you have given me in the past were so good, especially some of the concepting streams, the conception streams. We came up with so many fun ideas together. I'm hoping we can have more of those in the future too, outside of obviously the tarot Wednesdays. All right, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Feel pretty good about it. I think just for a better look, I'll post maybe a preview image of it on Instagram. So I'll do that shortly after the stream. And then, yeah, next week I'll start on the bottom. Okay, let me see if there's any questions here. Martin says, I'm just happy to see and hear that you guys are doing well. Yeah, I mean, very, very busy, but very well. Thank you, Martin. Hey, Daniel. Daniel, I just looked at our collab the other day. We got to finish that. I can't wait to see you. Are you still going to FanX Salt Lake by chance? As of right now, no, because we're going to another con that's on the same weekend. I know I'm kind of bummed out by that. Hopefully we'll see you, though, soon. If not this year, definitely next year. We definitely got to have shows where we're at the same one, because we got to finish our collaboration that's now 1.5 years, or almost 2 years in the making. Antonio says, I'm actually working with Lily of the Valleys right now, which have a lot of symbolism behind it. That's actually my roommate Deandra's favorite flower. She loves the Lily of the Valleys. Okay, I think I'm going to cut it off now. Oh, perfect time. Vincenzo, I'm about to close it off for today. But thank you for subscribing. Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming to these weekly Wednesday tarot streams where I continue my progress and growth on the tarot set. We will be working on the bottom half of this card next week, and we'll continue the conversation on Discord. I know we're also going to do an emoji contest sometime this month. I'm going to wait till I get back from the con this weekend, though, to kind of dive back into that, which I know Ella, who's here, will be helping me create. And I think that's most of the announcements right now. I do have a Patreon surprise. It's like a physical reward for my backers this month. So if you sign up by the end of this month, I'm going to be giving out journals of my art on it. And then it's like an empty blank journal. We either have dotted or lined one, and you'll be getting one of those. So if you want a free journal by subscribing to my Patreon, I'll be sending those out by the end of the month. And we're still waiting on my Kickstarter books. So yeah, those are my announcements. If you guys could give a like to the video before you guys leave, that way it can help the algorithm here on YouTube. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day and rest of your week, and hopefully we'll see you next time. Okay, take care everyone. Okay, bye 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 bye.